What about Dusty? Did you have any run-ins at all with Dusty Rhodes on the roads?
No, no. I I know that when I first started in 1977, uh, I remember being in, I believe it was Miami, Florida. The first night I had driven in, and I had no idea who Dusty Rhodes was. And he was this blonde guy, heavy-set guy, walks into the dressing room, and you know was behaving like he was somebody, So I didn't know who he was, and I asked Tully Blanchard who he was, and he says, and my buddy Tully tells Dusty, he says, Merced wants to know who you are, So he got heat at
Right.
me right away, and I said, I never watched wrestling. How am I supposed to know who Dusty Rhodes is? Uh, but I don't think Dusty ever, he never showed any animosity towards me. I mean, Dusty was the man in Florida.
Definitely. When you went back to work for Vince Jr., how different was he? How did he change?
Well, he was strictly business. I mean, he had a plan.
Did you know? Did he tell you he was going national?
Well, every week, like Pat Patterson and the guys that had been there and were agents every week would, and then they'd come in as, we're gonna go into Montreal, we're gonna go into Minnesota, and
Huh.
so he was, going into a different. Every time we do TV, there was other markets that he was picking up.
Right.
Uh, he, at the time, we didn't know just exactly. We hadn't heard anything about WrestleMania. I mean, he came in. All of a sudden, we're taking this spots, and this spots, and all of a sudden, uh, they closed down shop for the other magazines. They didn't allow any magazines, and all of a sudden, there's no publicity for us. And like I remember, a lot of the wrestlers complaining because we were not getting any publicity
Huh.
in the magazines. None of us knew that he was planning to do everything himself and
Right.
take completely over.
Were you promised anything when you went back?
No,
No. Okay.
no. All when I called Vince, well, I talked to Bill Watts, and he says Vince Senior wants you to come back to New York. I want you to stay here. He says he wants you to call him in the morning. So I had already been burned by Ole and Bill. I thought Bill,
Right.
and I called Vince. They want you bad. So being in professional football a little bit, so when somebody wants you bad, they're going to pay for you. So
Right.
I figured Vince McMahon Senior was going to make me offers. That's how naive I
Huh.
was. So I called Vince Senior in the morning and get him on the phone, and it seemed like eternity because I said, Vince, this is Tito Santana, and I was expecting him to come. Okay, I'm going to offer you this. Well, nothing was said for about. It seemed like forever, but it must have been like 30 seconds.
Huh.
And finally, I said, Vince, the reason I'm calling you is because I was told to call you.
Right.
And when I said that, he says, "You're right. It's time for you to come home." He says, "Your starting date is May the 10th." And I'll never forget that because, and I told you before, it's my birthday.
Right.
He says, "It's time for you to come home." I says, "It's all I need to know.
Huh.
I mean, you don't have to make me any promises." I said,
You're happy.
I'm there.
Did you prefer wrestling as a singles or a tag part?
I preferred singles.
Okay.
I believe that I made a name for myself as a singles, and I could carry myself as a singles, and I could wrestle against anybody.
Talk about your memories and one of your biggest, I guess, series with Don Muraco. Was it
Uh, Don Muraco was, I mean, God, I don't know if you remember. I mean, his legs and his back and his shoulders, and
thick?
Don Muraco would go in the ring, and just like Greg Valentine, you knew that you were going to work hard, and he wanted to have a good match. He didn't settle for anything less. He was a real
Was he easy to work with?
very easy to work with. Uh, you kind of had to follow him, and I didn't understand his English very well.
Right.
He had that pigeon English, and I couldn't understand him, when he talked to me.
Huh.
But you just fought, you kind of, I knew his style, so we ended up working together real well.
The promos that you guys used to do, especially his, was just amazing.
Yeah.
Were you surprised when I guess Backlund dropped the belt to the Sheik?
Well, I wasn't surprised because I knew that
Hogan was coming in.
I knew Hogan was coming in, but I knew that his 5-year promise from Vince McMahon Sr. was ending. And from what I understand, I knew over the years that Vince Jr. wasn't very happy with him.
Right. Was Bob, I guess, was he mad that he had to lose the belt?
Yeah, he was pretty upset.
Memories of your matches with the Sheik?
The Sheik was another one of the wrestlers that was pretty. The Sheik was pretty. He had a lot of heat.
Right.
Backstage,
you mean, or with
with
the fans?
with the
crowd.
war in Iraq. With the war in Iraq at the time.
You actually worked with him when he had the belt too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we worked a few. Well, he only hit it a month.
Right. Exactly.
He won it
Right.
in Madison Square Garden, and the next month he lost it to Hulk Hogan.
Yep. What are your thoughts on how things changed when Hogan came back? And I don't know if you know this, but Dusty claims that he was the first choice for the WWF when they went national. How do you think things would have happened if Hogan didn't get that spot and Dusty did?
Dusty was the first choice.
That's what Dusty's saying.
I mean, I find it very hard to believe, but I don't know the truth, But I always heard that Hulk was the first one.
Right.
I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, Dusty must know, if they had talked to Dusty before. I mean, I don't know what they offered him because I know that Dusty was pretty hot in Charlotte at the time.
Right.
But I don't know, what arrangements. Well, I do know that Hulk came in and got over instantly.
Did he change at all with success?
I don't think he changed. The whole time that he was there, in that run from the early 80s to the early 90s. I think he's changed since. But how can you not change when you are as successful as he is now? I mean, he's in a different level. I mean, how could you not change when
right.
you got everything you want and you can buy whatever you want and, you're as well known. He's probably one of the best known people in the world right now. It's hard for me to imagine. I mean, I've seen guys that have changed a lot more than he has with a lot less success.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.